What if I told you one ordinary quarter has been quietly traveling across America for nearly 60 years, and today it could be sitting in your pocket without you even noticing it? Think about that for a second. Every day, people spend quarters without looking at the date. A coffee, a parking meter, a vending machine. 25 cents goes from one hand to another, and nobody asks where that coin has been. But today, we're following the journey of one unforgettable coin, the 1967 Washington quarter. Close your eyes and imagine America in 1967. The streets are filled with classics, cars. Families carry cash everywhere, stores. Ring up purchases on mechanical cash registers. Freshly minted quarters. Leave the United States Mint by the millions. Ready to begin lives no one could ever predict. Them. One small quarter. Bright, untouched. Perfect, it's falls into a heavy canvas bag with thousands of others. The bag is loaded onto a truck, then onto another. Days later, the quarter reaches a local bank. A cashier opens the bag. The coin enters circulation. Its first owner buys a sandwich. The next owner uses it at a gas station. A week later, it pays for a movie ticket. The journey has begun. Year after year, the coin keeps moving from New York to Ohio to Texas, maybe even across the entire country. Nobody remembers holding it. Nobody writes down its story. Yet every scratch on its surface becomes part of its history. Now imagine it's today, nearly 6 decades later. You're cleaning an old wooden drawer that hasn't been opened in years. At the back of the drawer, you discover a dusty glass jar filled with loose change. You pour the coins onto the table, pennies, nickels, dimes, then a handful of Washington quarters. Most people would sweep them back into the jar, but not you. One by one, you begin checking the dates. 984, 1999, 1978, then 1967. For a moment, everything stops. You pick up the coin. It feels heavier than expected. Not because it weighs more, but because you're suddenly holding a piece of history. You carry it to the window. Sunlight touches the surface. Washington's portrait slowly comes alive. The lettering catches the light. The rim still stands strong after all these years. You gently rotate the coin. Tiny marks reflect decades of everyday life. Each one tells a silent story. Where has this quarter been? Who carried it first? How many cities has it visited? How many pockets? How many wallets? How many memories have become part of its incredible journey? No one can answer those questions, and that's exactly why. Collectors love coins like this, not because every coin is extraordinary, but because every coin has lived a life that history books will never record. Some collectors spend years searching through bankrolls. Others inherit old family collections. Many simply check the change they receive every day. They all share one thing in common: curiosity. Because curiosity is what transforms ordinary pocket change into an unforgettable adventure. And somewhere inside another forgotten jar, an old dresser, or perhaps even your own wallet. Another 1967 Washington quarter is waiting patiently, waiting for someone who knows that every coin has a story, waiting for someone who understands that history doesn't always live in museums. Sometimes it hides in your pocket. Imagine it's a cold winter morning. A local bank has just opened. A collector walks to the counter and quietly asks, "Could I get a few rolls of quarters?" The teller smiles, places several unopened rolls on the counter and says, "Good luck." To everyone else, They're just rolls of change. To a collector, they're unopened chapters of history. Back home, the rolls are placed under a bright desk lamp. The room is completely silent. Only the sound of paper tearing fills the air. The first roll opens. Quarters slide across the wooden table, one after another. 1981, 1994, 1976, 2003, nothing unusual. Then, a different date appears. Type 67. The collector doesn't celebrate. Instead, he slows down. He picks up the coin only by its edges. He places it beneath the light. As the quarter slowly turns, the surface begins to glow. Tiny reflections move across Washington's portrait. The letters in Liberty remain surprisingly clear. The rim still stands proud after decades of circulation. Suddenly, that ordinary-looking coin no longer feels ordinary. Now imagine its journey. When this quarter first entered circulation, nobody expected it to survive for generations. It wasn't created to become part of a collection. It was created to be spent again and again and again. It bought lunches, paid bus fares, dropped into vending machines, rested in cash registers, passed through countless hands. Every owner added another invisible chapter to its story. Then one day, its journey changed. Instead of being spent, someone noticed it. Someone decided to keep it. That simple decision allowed the coin to survive, while millions of others continued disappearing into everyday circulation. Collectors often say, the most exciting discoveries don't happen because a coin looks perfect. They happen because someone finally decides to look closely. Now imagine placing 3 different 1967 Washington quarters side by side. At first, they seem identical, but after a few minutes, the differences become impossible to ignore. One coin carries decades of heavy wear. Another still flashes traces of original mint luster. A third has remarkably sharp details that immediately catch your attention. That's the beauty of coin collecting. Every coin grows older in its own unique way. No two journeys are exactly alike. Experienced collectors also know that patience is more valuable than luck. Some search through thousands of coins before finding one that truly captures their attention. Others discover an interesting piece in the very first roll they open. The excitement isn't knowing what you'll find. The excitement is knowing. You never know what comes next. Imagine receiving change after buying a cup of coffee. Without thinking, you slip the quarters into your pocket. Later that evening, you empty your pockets onto the table. One coin rolls away. You stop it with your finger, turn it over, and there it is. 1967, a coin that has quietly survived nearly 6 decades. Now resting in the palm of your hand. The question is no longer, is it just another quarter? The real question becomes, what incredible journey did this little coin take before it found me? And sometimes, that single question is enough to turn an ordinary person into a lifelong coin collector. Sometimes, one simple question can change the way you see every coin forever. Where has this quarter been? Imagine holding that same 1967 Washington quarter again, not as 25 cents, but as a silent traveler, a traveler that has crossed decades without saying a single word. The year is 1967. The quarter is brand new. Its surface shines brilliantly beneath the lights of the United States Mint. Within hours, it leaves the building. Within days, it enters circulation, and within weeks, its adventure begins. It passes through the hands of a young father, buying groceries for his family. Months later, it's used at a baseball stadium. A child receives it as change after buying candy. Years pass. The coin keeps moving. Cities change. Stores close. People grow older, but The quarter continues its journey. It never stops. Now fast forward to today, nearly 60 years have passed. You visit a local flea market on a quiet weekend. Among old books, vintage cameras, and forgotten antiques, you notice a small tin box labeled old coins. Curious, you open it. Inside are dozens of quarters. Most people glance for only a second. You decide to look closer. Your fingers move carefully through the pile. Then, one date catches your eye. Chain 67. You lift the coin into the sunlight. Immediately, tiny details begin to appear. The portrait of George Washington still holds remarkable strength. The lettering remains surprisingly bold. The rim frames the coin with confidence. Even after decades, its craftsmanship still stands proudly. You begin comparing it with another quarter, then another. Slowly, your eyes start seeing things they never noticed before. One coin reflects light differently. Another has softer details. Another carries the honest wear of a lifetime spent in circulation. This is the moment experienced. Collectors often describe the moment you stop seeing money and start seeing history. Every small mark has a reason. Every tiny scratch came from somewhere. Every faded detail represents another year of everyday life. Some collectors spend years learning to recognize these subtle differences, not because they're chasing impossible dreams, but because every coin teaches them something new. Knowledge becomes the real treasure. Imagine showing the 1967 quarter to your grandfather. He smiles. He remembers using quarters exactly like this decades ago. Suddenly, the coin becomes more than metal. It becomes a memory, a connection between generations. That's something no auction price can measure. No matter where this quarter has traveled, no matter how many people have carried it, it has survived long enough to tell another story. And now, that story has reached you. Maybe that's why so many collectors continue searching through pocket change, old collections, and bankrolls every single week. Not because they expect every coin to be extraordinary, but because every search holds the possibility of discovering a forgotten piece of American history. And perhaps the next 1967 Washington quarter you find won't just become another coin in your collection. It might become the one coin you'll always remember. The next coin you receive may look exactly like every other quarter in your pocket, but appearances can be deceiving. Imagine walking through an old antique shop on a quiet afternoon. Wooden shelves line the walls. Vintage clocks tick softly in the background. Old photographs, rusty keys, military medals, and dusty wooden boxes fill the room. Near the back of the shop, you notice a small glass bowl labeled simply old coins, 25c each. Most customers walk past without slowing down, but something tells you to stop. You reach into the bowl. Dozens of quarters slide through your fingers. 71, 1984, 1993. Then, a single date catches your attention. 67. You hold it beneath the light coming through the shop window. For a brief moment, everything else disappears. The noise, the people, the shop. It's just you, and a coin that has survived for nearly 60 years. You begin wondering, how many hands held this coin before yours? How many cities did it travel through? Did it sit inside a soldier's pocket? Did a child save it? Inside a piggy bank? Did it spend years forgotten in an old family collection before finding its way back into circulation? Those questions may never be answered. And that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Every coin is a mystery, waiting to be explored. Collectors don't chase history, they preserve it. Every Washington quarter represents another chapter of America's everyday life. A silent witness to millions of ordinary moments. Family vacations, school lunches, weekend baseball games, road trips, holiday shopping, countless memories, all connected by one small coin. Now imagine placing your 1967 quarter beside newer quarters. The difference becomes obvious, not only in age, but in character. Time has given it a personality that newer coins simply don't have. Every tiny mark, every worn detail, every reflection beneath the light reminds you that history isn't locked away inside museums. Sometimes, history fits comfortably in the palm of your hand. That's why experienced collectors never stop learning. Every search teaches patience. Every discovery builds knowledge. Every coin becomes another piece of a story that continues with every new generation. So tonight, before you empty your pockets, before you drop your change into a jar, take one extra look. Read the date. Study the details, because somewhere among those ordinary coins, another 1967 Washington quarter may be waiting quietly for someone curious enough to notice it. Thank you for watching Hidden Coin Digest. If you love discovering the hidden stories behind American coins, learning real collecting tips, and exploring the history of Washington quarters, subscribe to Hidden Coin Digest. Turn on the notification bell and join us for more fascinating coin adventures every week. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment and tell us. Have you ever found a 1967 Washington quarter in your pocket change? Until our next adventure, keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate an ordinary coin. Because sometimes, the greatest stories are hidden in the smallest treasures.